Peace to all within the sound of this broadcast. This is your brother INFMEGA building with you, taking you to places where my knowledge and wisdom has taken me. And on the day of power, of now cipher victory, of the wisdom cipher wisdom knowledge year, I visited Power Hill for the second time. This time to build with Ramel Self.
A whole bunch of history, man.
And Kaheen, two other firstborns of Power Hill. The last time I was here, I built with Ramel Self's older brother, Knowledge Divine, who took me through some of the history of Power Hill and how he got the knowledge of himself. On this trip, Ramel Self shared some of his history.
Saw a bearded guy, little short guy with cut off shorts, by the name of Amar Self.
I just realized that I had actually met some of the gods of Power Hill, including Ramel Self and his physical brother, Knowledge Divine, along with a few other gods and their families that came to Now Y at our nation's 50th anniversary at the Cotton Club in Mecca.
Peace to the family on our 50th. We are the gods coming up from Philadelphia and the Earths, and we are here to celebrate this momentous occasion.
Thinking back to that night, I remember my brothers and sisters that are no longer here. They are remembered in perfection. The last time I visited Power Hill was a few months before. I built with the god K-Liv, who asked me to document his old Earth's history, to which I was honored to do so. Wisdom Understanding returned to her essence exactly 1 month after my visit on the Knowledge Wisdom Day of Just You Love Y. The god K-Liv also shared some of his own personal history. Here's a clip that I haven't shared from that trip, where the god builds on why he became a police officer.
So I've been to see Cypher God for 24 years now, guys, since I was born. You know what I mean? And what made me deal with that, what made me decide to deal with that was, you know, a lot of times we'll complain about certain things and we don't agree with this, we don't agree with that, you know, and we don't like what we see. So, you know what I mean? I was always taught that if you didn't like what you see, change the way you're looking at it, you know what I mean? And a lot of times, if the change that you want to see or the change that you're talking about, sometimes you got to become that change. You got to be that change. You know what I mean? That was number one. Number two, I never, growing up as a kid, and I don't, you know, everybody's story is different, but in my neighborhood, guy, we didn't know any police officers personally that we could aspire to be like. You know what I mean? Like the only time we had contact with the police, we get like, you know, get thrown up on the wall, getting ran through. You know what I mean? So now I'm like, when I'm at work, you know, I'm making my business to approach the babies, you know what I mean? That's just about anybody teaching the babies, you know what I mean? But just, you know, striking up a conversation and developing a rapport with them, you know what I mean? So that way, on a personal level, not on some, you got anything on you, putting your hands on them and running through them, you know what I mean? It's about having somebody to look up to want to be like, if that's the decision that they want to make, if that's the career path that they want to take, you know what I mean? They can have somebody they can ask certain questions, or if they're in trouble, they can have somebody to go to. You know what I mean? So forth and so on, you know what I mean? So that was one of the things, or one of the reasons that, took me in that direction, you know what I mean? We say that God is seen and heard everywhere, and you got to be a part of everything. You know what I mean? You got to be a part of everything, God. So, and like, I've been doing this so, and then I've been able to help, gods and earths. I've been able to help out tremendously in certain situations, to where as though, me making a phone call or me pulling up on something kind of changed the direction of that whole situation, that whole cipher, you know what I mean? So I got this thing where I say the only person who don't want to hook up is the person who can't get a hookup. That's the only person that don't want to hook up, guy. You know what I mean? Other than that, we all want to be put in a situation where as though if something is going down, and the officer can use discretion, because there's going to be certain situations where the officer's not going to be able to use discretion, where he has no choice but to take you in and book you and process you and so forth and so on. But if there's a situation where he can use discretion and he has somebody such as myself where he can extend that courtesy to, you know what I mean, then we're going to do that, and I'm going to do it on the strength of the nation, regardless of whom or what, you know what I mean? If you're wrong, we'll deal with that later. We'll build about that later. But right now, let's get you out of this. You know what I mean? So, and that's what it is, God. You know what I mean? So, it's been a blessing for me, God. It's been a blessing for me. And I just utilized the opportunity to come in contact with babies. You know what I mean? And even though we're about teaching the babies, but we also about teaching the uncivilized as well, you know what I mean?
During this second trip, I linked with the guard Ramel Self, and he took me through some of his history that will not be mentioned in this video. However, he did share some history that is fitting to share with the internet.
Let me help paint a picture of the craziness that we was into.
Okay.
All right, so you can get an idea of what we were about as young brothers. You figure I was 17 when I got knowledge, but before then, we was just a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds. But we were different, guys. We're not different, but we were well-read. We wanted to change. We wanted to make shit change. We seen what was in front of us, because you figure when I was 15, that was in 1969. They had killed Martin, and they had killed the father, which I did not know, because I had not met Amar yet. But you could just imagine, Malcolm had been gone. So I was one of them. We were young brothers that were very well read, and we wanted to fuck up some shit. But at the same, I'm cursing.
No, that's all right.
No, I didn't know I was on tape.
It's so peaceful.
Okay, we wanted to make a change. We wanted to make a change, and we were angry. We were young. We were angry. However, we were very well read, very intelligent young brothers coming up. So it was just a matter of time before all of that came together. So you figure in the year 1970, I turned 16, Kaheem was 17, Jamel was 16. And we wanted to shake some things up. And we did. In our own little way, we made a little bit of noise, and
this is right before you.
Right before we made a little bit of noise, and we bonded. We bonded even tighter as young brothers.
So you say you made a little bit of noise. What was it that you did?
We made noise.
You don't want to get into that.
We made noise, and well, off camera.
Okay.
Time out.
The guard built on his background and the time just before he got the knowledge of himself.
My mom wouldn't let me become a Panther.
Oh, okay.
It didn't move now. You figured that Panthers was here, and then the police was running up on her. My mom was scary. Good, beautiful woman. This is her head. But she was like, this my boy right here.
A religious woman.
No, not really religious.
No.
She was just cautious. My mom didn't have a goddamn. She had not a gambling. My dad. You read my book?
No, I didn't read the book. You gotta get the book.
My dad was a hustler.
Okay.
He was a pool hustler. The book is about him, and this is my mom with the glasses at the top.
Okay.
And right on the left side is the glasses next to my uncle. That's all the family.
Okay.
The tree. And,
you might at some point I'll take pictures of this, like you know.
I will give you. You can take a picture of that. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah, peace.
Because no, that's my mom. And then when the Panthers hit town, I was like, Mom, I'm going to the meet. She said, No, you not. He said, No, you not.
Yeah.
So as a result of that, we created our own thing. It was called Panther II.
Panther II.
Yes, sir. See,
was it the Panthers 2 or
it was Panther
2? Part 2.
Roman numerals, Part 2.
Okay.
And we started to. I was Minister of Information. Like, I guess that was, who was that? Eldridge. Eldridge was Minister of Information.
Right. So you were kind of.
And we was
mimicking.
Yes, we were at 16.
Right.
Because we just, we wanted to do something.
And not at all connected to.
No, not at all connected. Just only in words and study and anger. That was the connection.
Anger.
And and young, because they were young. Right. They were just a little bit older than us, maybe college age when Huey did their thing. And my other boy, Greg, he loved Huey. He even went and bought a shotgun like Huey. And He was Minister of Defense, and Kaheem was Minister of something else. I forget. Anyway, and we had a couple of little meetings amongst each other, and what we gonna do, and what we ain't gonna do, and you know. And then
This is just the three of y'all.
just the four of us: Greg, Kaheem, Jamel, and myself.
Okay.
And there was a couple more other people that was trying to do the Panther II thing. And then we were trying to, you know, be angry, but smart. You know, it was smart. We wasn't just wild. So it wasn't like we were just going to do some crazy stuff and then beat the consequences. So we were just being angry and smart at the same time, you know. We might have painted some stuff on the wall, fuck the pigs, you know, all that kind of stuff that was going on at the time.
Right.
And this is the junior high school I went to.
Oh, okay.
You know, this is my neighborhood.
What's the name of this junior high school?
This is the junior high school. It's not a junior, it's a high school now.
High school, okay.
But it was my junior high school years ago.
What's the name of it?
It was called Bartlett.
It was called Bartlett.
It was called Bartlett. It's Palumbo now.
Okay.
But it was called Charles E. Bartlett Junior High School. Big junior. It was when junior high schools were very regional and people in the region went to that school. It wasn't before charter schools and all of that stuff came out.
Okay.
And it was just as many kids as in there as a high school. Big junior high school. And I'm going to show you where it all began. All of this happened in a matter of no time. And I looked up, and we were all in 12th grade. We were all seniors. And see, because right here, right there, is where it all began.
That's where it all began.
It all began, God. This is why we call South Philly Mecca. This is South Philadelphia. And this particular area is where we all grew up at, God. And I'm going to take you on a journey. It takes you back to 1971.
All right, okay.
I'm going to take you on this journey.
What are we looking at right here? What's happening right now?
All right, basically what we're looking at right now is my neighborhood. This is where we grew up at. I was born and raised here since the 1950s. And this is where we grew up as teenagers. Webster Street, right down here is where we started at. This is where we grew up at. This is where we cut our teeth. We played marbles and all kind of kid games. And then when it came to time for us to become adults, this is where the men grew up at. They say you're a man when you turn 16. Now it's equality. And we were young men. We were very courageous. We were very well-read young men. And myself, Kaheem, Jamel, and another brother by the name of Greg Jackson, we had a moment. We had a moment, and that moment bonded us. January 31st, 1970. Fast forward 2 months later, our bond grew stronger as ever. You have to understand, I was 16 years old, Jamel was 16, we were in high school, Kaheem was 17. We were high school students, very good students, trying to graduate. And we looked up and June was upon us. And I graduated, and my mom tells a beautiful story how my aunt and my mom tell the story how I just handed them the diploma and said, this is what you wanted. And I went on my way, but it wasn't that dramatic. I did hand them the diploma. However, I was grateful for my parents, grateful for them showing me the way for them 12 years of school, and grateful for getting out of high school. It was one of them moments, and I tell people all the time, it's something that you never have to do again. Once you get your diploma, you might have to do a lot. You might get married 3 or 4 times. You might have a lot of different things, but that is one thing that you never have to do again. Get that part of your life over with. Get your diploma and get it over with.
You said that at that time period, you still were angry though.
Not angry, but we now to subside. The anger subsided. So now the people.
Well, after the event that took place.
Yeah, the anger was always predicated by righteousness and being right and doing something for the community. It was never just unbridled anger. It was anger because we were young men in this here North America situation, and we seen everything around us going to shit in the hat basket. And as a result of that, everybody was angry. It was just that we chose to take our anger and study more. Some people chose that anger and became drug addicts. It was a whole bunch of things going on in America at that time, and they made sure they needed to be able to quell this anger. And that's what the FBI and all these other people was in charge of. Quell the anger. Quell the anger of Black America. That was their job. Through drugs, government jobs, as some of the comedians say. They gave them government jobs. That's what happened. And of course, the heroin epidemic that was raging the whole country. However, we had something else to do. We did not know what that was. But I remember the day when Jamel knocked on my door. I had just got my diploma. About a day later, Jamel knocked on my door. Boom, boom, boom. He said, Ramel, we got a place in Pelton Village. My teacher is subletting the house. Would you like to go? I'm like, bet.
This is getting out of your mother's house, right?
Now, the story gets thicker. You know how your mom was always, you got to go, you got to go. So now I said, Mom, I'm leaving for the summer. You too young to go. So now the pullback, you too young to go. I said, Mom, I'm going. So she called my dad to try to talk me out of going. This was a big deal. My mom just, as much as mothers, that was just another form of protection that moms do. Go when you're doing bad, but when you decide to go, are you ready to go? Which is a good question for a lot of 16-year-olds. Right. Remember, I was only 16. I had just turned 17 that May. So now I'm a 17-year-old. Not that that makes a whole lot of difference. Peace. Not that that makes a whole lot of difference, but now I'm 17 years old, and she did not want me to go. So she sent my dad up to Pelton Village on our first days in Pelton Village. And I'm going to show you I'll take you up that way too after we leave Kahim. Okay. I'm going to show you exactly where the house was. And my dad went up there, tried to talk me down, and my dad just returned to the Essence about over a year ago. And one of the statements he profoundly remembers, he said, Ramel, when I came up there to try to talk you out of this is what you said. He said that I said, what makes you think a year I'm going to be much more better? And he never forgot that. So I said, all right, Pop, I need $200 because this is when you can actually buy a job. You can go down to temporary and get some money, and you can put up money and actually get a job. It was way back in the day. They had temporary job services where if you paid a fee, you became put on their list. And they found you a job for the most part. But that really wasn't what I wanted to do. I just needed $200 for my pocket. And he gave me $200, but there was something else more in store. And we still did not know what that was. Now we in Pelton Village. We done left South Philly. We in Pelton Village. Kahim comes up. Now the three of us are in Pelton Village, and no moms, no restrictions, no rules. However, we was already embedded with rules and regulations before we got there. So living righteously was not a hard thing to do.
And this is before you get this is
Before we met him, right?
right before.
See, so what we had to do first, we had to clean up the house and make the house ours. Beautiful white guy by the name of John. He was living. He had 3 housemates, John, Ken, and I forget the female's name. And they lived at 3321 Hamilton Street. I'm going to take you up there. And you might want to go up there before we go with the rest of the story.
Okay, all right.
3 blocks, wasn't even 3 blocks, guys. Ran up here to Jamel's house, knocked on his door to tell his mom and his sister that this didn't work out right down the street. By the time we stood on that step, me and Greg, we heard that boom. Boom! I'm like, God damn, Kaheem cut loose. But then we heard boom, 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 boom. I'm like, oh shit, we only have 1 shell. So now I'm thinking he in a gunfight. You didn't know what was going on. And we circled the block, and that's when I seen Knowledge. He said, I'm going to fuck you up.
That's not myself.
I'm going to fuck you up. Because your brother over there, because they had already told him. People who knew that we were planning it. Your brother over there. He said, were you over there? I didn't say that. I just shook my head. I just put my head down.
Wow. And y'all are how many years apart?
3 plus.
3
3.5 years.
3.5. Okay, so yeah.
He turned 70 Sunday. 71.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Sunday.
67. Yes. The goddamn November 7th.
Okay, peace.
Slower than what I thought. We don't go down Bush. Yeah, 70. He's 70 now. We 3 years. We become 4 years apart in November. From May, that's like 3.5 years.
3.5 years.
Yeah, he was there when I was born, right down the street in the house on West Bridgewater Street. 1954, he was right there.
So he was born here, born and raised in Philly.
Right there, yeah. Right? 3 blocks away, in the house. One of them house babies. No, God, we graduated, and that knock on the door. I never forget that. Jamel knocked on my door and said, God, we got a house. I said, my teacher. Teacher is going to sublet the house for the summer. And I'm like, bet. My mom was like, no.
and it's interesting. The teacher trusted to sublet the place to you.
Well, he was one of them. See, you got to take yourself back then, God. See, because a lot of the teachers were hippies. They were kind of like laid back. They wasn't the teachers that you might them old school teachers. The teachers was different back then. You had them, it was a little hippie-ish, right, for lack of a better word, put it. And Jamel went to the free school. The free school was one of those schools that they experimented with as far as without walls. You had different curriculum. It wasn't the same stringent rules and regulations. He went to one of those schools. Kaheem went to vocational school, and I went to Overbrook High School. And that day I graduated, a day or so later, that knock on the door. God, we got a spot. Went up there, guys. We had to clean up because it wasn't the prettiest spot. We had, we was.
So was this a place that he was staying at, or he was just?
No, he just knew the teacher.
He was just. Was this his spot?
Oh no, the guys, they was living there, but apparently John was his name. He had a housemate, Ken, and a female, I forget her name. They were all like students or graduate students. They were like a little bit older than us. Maybe if we were 17, they had to be maybe like 22, 23, stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
I don't know how old John was. The teacher that Jamel personally knew, he might have been a little older. Nice guy. Just nice white guy, hippie guy, long hair. And that began the summer of 71, 50 years ago. Wow. 50 years later. And I'm going to go grab my man Kaheem. He's going to help tell some of this story. 50 years later.
Yeah, man. I mean, just that story that you told me before. Like, we gotta do a screenplay for that.
A lot for that.
we gotta do something.
I'm
for that.
down. I'm down, Infinite. I'm down.
Yeah,
I am so down. I am so down.
And I like the way you tell it. You're animated about it, and you could. It's like
God, that shit was.
I'm in your shoes, man.
Yes, God. It's a beautiful tale. It's a beautiful story, God, and it's so pertinent, so important to what was about to happen. Man, we was bonded. We was like forged in that fire that night. December 31st. We were forged. We were forged like steel that night, God.
Going through that, and what almost happened, or what could have happened.
Could have happened, God.
What could have happened.
Could have happened, didn't happen. And as a result of it didn't happen, God, we made the best of it. It was preparing us for what was to come, God. It was preparation. All of that.
For what was to come.
Panther II thing, just the way we came up, God, it was all preparation for what was to come. All of them principles about telling and things that you should not be doing, and all of those things, God, we was living righteous. Basically, it was just preparing us for the righteousness. Our parents, we had good parents. All of our parents were good, and they kept us on the right tip for the most part. Now, as we got older, we had to stay on that righteousness.
So now's a question. Like, what do you think what was it in you and your peers that wanted to make the statement, having such a good background? I mean, was it? I mean, the atmosphere of the time, or?
Well, like I said, God, it wasn't like we had a good life, as far as a good life can go. However, that still did not justify the things that was going on around us that we needed to speak on and we needed to read up on, because that's how we learned, from just reading, and we stayed in the bookstores and stayed in the newspapers, and then, like I said, it wasn't like an unbridled anger. It was just a lot of frustration that a lot of people was experiencing back then. And that frustration turned into riots for some people. They wanted to riot. See, I didn't have no need to be throwing bricks at somebody's window and all of that. That wasn't the need. Right. It was just more of an, how would I put it? It was more of an organized anger. You wanted to, some sort of organized reprisals, and throwing bricks is all right. I guess for the moment, just want to continue to throw bricks. And however, we were grateful that we came on the other side of that come March 1971. And we found ourselves still cocky, still 16, still 17, but grateful that we had got on the other side of this. And as a result of that gratitude, it bonded us, made us closer. So when it came time to do that move, I was there. Kaheem was right on my footsteps. Because Kaheem like, y'all got a house? I'll be right there. And we all moved into the house. And then that fateful night, when Jamel and a brother by the name of Rick Palmer went out on the corner of 34th and Houghton, saw a bearded guy, little short guy with cut off shorts, by the name of A. Marcel. And they brought him around to the house. I'm going to take you to the house after we busted up with Kaheem for a little while right here.
Okay. All right, peace.
Peace.
All right, introduce yourselves.
Okay. I'm Kaheem Knowledge Self Allah.
My name is Ramel Self.
Okay. And so tell me a little bit about the history of like how you got. Well, first tell me how you two met.
Well, we basically grew up together. You know, I've known Ramel since I was about. I started coming around
8, 9 years old.
No, a little bit older, a little bit younger than that.
Maybe younger than that.
Yeah, it was about 7.
About 7 years old.
And we were always close. Like I said, I lived around the corner from him, but I grew up at his house. You know, I grew up. You know, I spent most of my nights in his room. You know, so you know, Knowledge Divine was like my big brother too. You know, we got out of line. He kicked my behind like he was his.
Everybody else.
That was the same thing.
And would look after all of us the same way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
When things went wrong,
We knew who we could call him, and he was gonna be there.
that's right.
That's base. So you were telling me about this story that led up to you getting the knowledge of yourself.
Yes, sir.
So what
You
happened?
figure we was all of, you figure 1969, God. And the city was in an uproar. The Black Panthers had came to town. And I asked my mom, could I be a Black Panther? And she said emphatically no. Because my mom was afraid of the police. My mom wasn't afraid of the police. My mom she was very cautious of everything. And Black Panthers meant police knocking down your door. So that was emphatically no. So as a result of that, me and my brother and a couple of them, me, Kaheem, and a couple of us, we started our own thing called Panther II. And it was kind of a replica. I was Minister of Information. I think, what was you, Kaheem? You was Minister of what? I think maybe communications or something like
Communications, I
that.
think it was
But Greg wanted to be Huey, so he was Minister of Defense. He even went out and bought a shotgun like Huey. And we had a chair, we had the whole thing.
So like you said, you were well read, so you read up on how the Panthers formed their organization and everything.
And well, the Panthers really came from Malcolm. That was their inspiration, by any means necessary. However, but the people do not realize the Panthers was about the same thing that's going on now is policing the neighborhood, policing the police, and feeding the children.
Absolutely.
A lot of people they lose that on the Panthers. All they think is the gunfights. But the
What we
gunfights,
knew was the breakfast program.
the breakfast program was rampant across the whole nation. Rampant across the whole nation. And no, these were very attractive. Attractive in a positive way.
Yeah, but we grew up in the streets where we were watching our people being beaten on a regular basis, you know. And
Police.
oh, absolutely, all the time. I mean, men, women, children, it didn't matter. So I guess the best way to say is that we were dissatisfied.
That's a good word.
You know, we were totally
Like the
dissatisfied.
God was saying about us, it wasn't really anger, it was more of a dissatisfied. We were dissatisfied with what was going on. And that led us to exploring ways to get people to know that we was dissatisfied for whatever that may be. And
You know, at the same time that we were forming the Panther II, we were also still, you know, looking to find answers. You know, I remember you started. Remember all the artwork you started doing. You know, when you did the all-seeing eye and things of that sort. We didn't know what it all was about, but we knew there was something here. There was something we were missing
going on.
You know, I studied Buddhism, Hinduism, a few other religions.
All
All
at
the
the
isms.
age of
I was 16, 17 years old.
16, 17 years old. Before the knowledge.
Yeah, before now. Yes. Looking to find what am I missing? What am I missing? You know? And nothing was satisfying us. We were so frustrated that by the time that I was just about ready to turn 18. Ramel was 17, Jamel was 18, and we all decided it was time to go. We got to move on. We got to grow up. We got to make our move.
Right.
You know, the first thing we decided to do first was we have to take an action in this city. We have to let them know that we're here. You know, that's what led to the incident that Ramel told you about. You know, with Broad Webster.
Wow.
Yes, and it, like I said, God, it was it was all bridal. It was all in the pursuit of righteousness. In the pursuit of a righteous moment.
And I'm just impressed with like the mindset that you had at the time. And you're saying like in the pursuit of righteousness, but you're gonna take a very real pronounced action.
Aggressive
Action, yes. Aggressive action, all in the pursuit of righteousness.
Yeah.
You know.
You got to remember, we were home and basically home alone because Niles Devine was in Vietnam. We didn't know whether or not we were going to ever see him again. For a while there, he was like missing. Nobody knew where he was.
You didn't know, like, so he shipped out to Vietnam during those years. It's like kind of got disconnected.
Well, a lot of people didn't come home, man.
Right.
So that was in the back of my head, and the back of all of our heads. That was our native son. And I'm saying, you know, he was our son. He was the South Philly's native son that went away.
Yeah.
And we were all open and that everything would be all right, but you did not know.
Right. And we had to say, well, we're living like he may not be back. Right. So that means that the next move's on us.
Right. And that's virtually the way it was.
Right.
You know.
Next move is on us.
Right. So we took that action that night. New Year's Eve. New Year's Eve.
Wow. And like I said, the mindset of righteousness, and you said after not telling on each other.
Oh no.
You see how emphatically you said, oh no.
Well, they had me and Jamel. And they were real frustrated. First of all, the first shot was supposed to have killed me. You know, it grazed me in the back of the head.
Oh wow!
They came sticking their hand in the wound and said, "Why ain't he dead?" You know, and then they beat me and Jamel for hours. You know, and then said, "Well, y'all gonna tell us where the rest of them are?" And we said, "All right, we'll make a statement." I said, "What?" I said, "Well, my lip hurt." And Jamel said, "Well, my eye hurt too." You know, so they decided, we're gonna whip y'all some more. So they whipped us some more, you know. Like, right. The most you gonna make us do is lie. You know, because we ain't telling you.
That's the way it was.
To protect each other.
Yeah.
Yes, that was what it was about, God. Yeah. And then they came and got me, and then that's when I tell people all the time about the Father's instructions of showing improvement. And we did not know the Father. We had not even met Amar as of yet. But that was a moment of showing improvement. Because
this is before you knew any of this idea.
But it was just a matter of what we had went through this over and over again. No telling, no guilty, no none of that. And now it was time to prove that under dire circumstances for a couple of 16, 17-year-olds.
Right. And you taking the position, are you willing to die for each other?
Right. And like I told you, when I told you the story with that one shell, when me and Greg stood on Jamel's step and we heard that first shell, I'm like, damn, this guy ain't gonna cut loose. Because he kept saying, God, we're gonna cut, I'm not gonna go alive, God, they're gonna have to take us. I'm like, oh shit.
Well, and they tried. I mean, they shot that building down. You know, for a while they were shooting so much that the ones that was in the back and the ones in the front thought we was fine, and it was just the bullets going through there.
I told you guys. They made a semicircle around that John and shot till it was over.
Yeah.
You said one of the bullets grazed your head.
It grazed my head, spun me around. You know, I
gotta save some of this stuff
now.
for the movie now. You hear me?
Yeah.
All right, save some of this stuff.
Right.
We don't want to get all this out now.
Right.
You gotta save some of that.
Yeah. We'll touch on that another time. But I want to get to, you know, when you met Amar.
Oh, all right.
And the impression that he left on you. And you said you were out looking for something at that time.
Well, see, you have to understand, first of all, we had just left our neighborhood. We moved up to Powton Village. Jamel had a hookup through school with a teacher.
His teacher, John.
You know, who had a building that he said we could sublet. Now this building had what, 11 rooms,
Big 3-story building. I'm gonna take him up there after this.
you know, and it was, I mean, it had everything in it. I mean, the building had a piano. We were all musicians, you know. I played most percussion instruments, plus I was a dancer. Ramel played clarinet, saxophone. You know, Jamel played piano and sax. And congas.
So you all were proficient in the arts.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We drum.
Well-educated, well-read.
Well-read drum lines, guy. We had drum lines.
Yeah.
There was nothing for everybody to bring their kunga outside, guy, back in the 60s and 70s.
And entertain the whole community.
And entertain the whole block. We had good drum lines.
Yeah.
Real good drum lines, young coming up, guy. It was just something we naturally did.
Yeah.
And we had sisters, Miss Annalou, come around dancing. We had African dancers that would just come down the street, start dancing.
Yeah.
And Kaheem and Miss Davis, and she was one of them teachers that showed up at, what I was telling you before, when we had to go to court, when the guys had to go to court, the courtroom was full of teachers, principals.
Yeah. I was the assistant.
The jury was saying were
No, the courtroom
court-
to testify on our behalf.
on your behalf. Right.
It was full of everybody that loved us, guys.
I was the assistant teacher at the junior high school at the time.
I took him by there. Same one. I took him by
You know,
there.
because I was a dancer. You know, that's what I did.
Right.
You know, so
Yet you were angry and wanted to make this aggressive statement.
something had to happen. Something had to change.
Had to change because you were seeing police.
Right. Well,
Whipping
at the
the
time,
community.
we didn't understand. It wasn't something that had to change. What had to happen first is we had to change.
Good point.
You know,
Right.
Good point.
you know, that's what had to happen first. Because once we changed, then we could change everything else.
When did you realize that? When you met Amar?
When we met Amar, it was deep because when we met Amar, Jamel and I was out in the street in the field. You were with him, weren't you? No. But he told us that I got somebody y'all got to meet.
No, it didn't go like that. It went like this. Rick Palmer. We was at the house. Remember Rick Palmer?
Yeah.
Jamel and Rick Palmer. We had to go outside. We was trying to find information on the neighborhood. And they told me, they said, Ramel, you the youngest one, you stay. Rick Palmer and Jamel went out on the streets and walked about 3 blocks down to 34th and Poughton. And lo and behold, there was a bearded guy, big afro, cut off shorts, standing on the corner.
This is in
1971.
1971.
The summer of 1971. You figure we got up there around just.
That was in March. That was in March because
No.
it was before my birthday.
Oh God. We got buildings in July. No, we didn't. When we graduated, this is the way it went. I graduated June 20 something. That's what I was looking for the date.
You're right.
Because y'all had came home. Y'all came home in March. Y'all spent like a month or something there.
Yeah.
A month or something. Y'all came home in March. Now from March to now, we was just trying to get our diplomas and you know, just settling down and getting our life together. Jamel was still in school. You were still in school. I was coming out of Overbrook. And you had went and got a job and was going part-time and a couple other things you was doing. And I graduated the 23rd, 24th, 25th. About 2 or 3 days later, Jamel knocked on the door and said to me, we have a house. So now you figure, by the time I wrangled with my mom and my dad, we there. Kaheem heard, y'all got a house? Kaheem was, I'll be there tomorrow. Just like that. I'll be right up there. I said, what's the address? 3321, God, I'll be right there.
Look, I told my old lady, I'm moving.
I'm moving.
She said, well, when? I said, now. Where you going? I'll send you the address. I'm out. I'm gone.
My mom was a little bit more protective. She said, oh, you're not ready to move. And she sent my dad up there to check on the house. House was a big, beautiful house. Just had to be cleaned up. And he sat there with me that day, trying to convince me not to come back home. And I'll never forget that question. He said, I told him, I said, well, what do you think? Why would a year make any difference? And he never forgot that. You know, because they would say, come on for a year and then see what happened. I said, well, why would a year make any difference? I said, we were smart enough to go on our own, in which we were. And like I said, God, we had no idea. No idea what was in front of us. We knew we could feel the crescendo, though, God. Like, we could feel it. Over the months. All since the months, God. It was a crescendo from January, from
that first incident.
From even before then. Even before then, though, God. 'Cause we had been building up to this for almost a year. So you can go back into a year 1970, like the summer of 1970, when we was just getting to filling our oats and becoming men at that tender age of knowledge equality and knowledge power, knowledge God. And the crescendo was building. So by that time, it was nothing. Mom, Dad still did not know why or what was going to transpire, but I wanted to be there. He wanted to be there. And there was nothing was going to stop us from being there at that moment.
It's like whatever's going to happen,
we had no idea. So when that night came about and Jamel went outside with Rick Palmer, met Amar, brought him back to the house. And who was this cat, man? Who was this cat with this long beard, man?
Look, Amar was the picture of the classic hippie at that time.
Yeah, he was.
He had hair everywhere, and Amar was always a very hairy brother, but he was short and real skinny. You know, and he was in an A shirt and shorts.
And shorts.
You know, and sandals. You know, so he looked like a big hairball.
Very unassuming and very, and like I said, unassuming. Because it wasn't like he was sitting there, we did not see the flag.
He had a flag on.
He didn't have it on that time.
He didn't have a flag on.
Amar came to the house, he was just cool. He was cool, we did our little bit of business, and maybe he was checking us out, because we had already stopped eating pork. Our eating habits was already refined.
Okay, so
See, we had studied.
That was due to the
reading and the whole thing.
Absolutely.
And plus, we hung out with some of the brothers, some of the Orthodox Muslim brothers. See, our eating habits had already had changed.
Because a lot of them were musicians.
They was musicians.
So we all knew them.
See, you met all of these guys shedding.
bringing people together.
Exactly.
Because there was nothing. You don't see it now, guys, and it's kind of sad. It is not kind of sad, but it is sad because it was where everybody walked around with instruments. They had horns and flutes and stuff. And everybody had a trumpet and you wouldn't.
I had a conga
on my
back
his shoulder
all the time.
You know, we walked around with
First
drums.
in the arts.
So you could just at any given time you could break out.
And that's what would happen.
And that's what would happen on the streets back in the late 60s and early 70s.
One person sit down and start playing, somebody else comes over and
come up
start
with a
playing.
horn.
Next
And
thing
you
you
look
got a
up,
band.
you got a whole bunch of people what they call shedding.
Shedding.
It's called shedding. Musicians, if you ever ask a musician what is shedding is just like hair. You like all the things you learned, you shedding it. You showing people what you done learned. What did you done learn? You shedding it. That's the word that was screamed. And as a result of meeting them brothers, our eating habits have kind of changed. And even though it wasn't
It wasn't as refined.
it wasn't etched in stone like we had wanted to become, but it was getting there.
Yeah, because there was still certain things that we didn't know, but we were learning.
That same crescendo. That same crescendo coming up. Now, about a week or so later, me and Jamel was together. We stood on the corner of 37th and Barrett. That is like three blocks from our house. And Amar was doing his thing, and I never heard him say this until then. Because that first week, he was just checking us out, filling us out, and that's when he dropped that the black man is God.
So he just came out and said the black.
Well, in a build-up.
Okay.
We were just building like we are building now, and then in that moment, I'll never forget it. In that moment, he said, "The black man is God," because that was his sign-off statement. Because he lived on 36th and Poughton, and we went this way. So he walked away, and me and Jamel was standing there, and we slapped hands, just like that. And I said, Jamel, we got it.
So you
God,
immediately
God, I'm not on face value, but like I said, God, we were well read. We was building up to this, God. And when he said it, and this is when people say about hearing it, I'm saying you heard it. And when you heard it, the way Amar put it, it wasn't mysterious or magical or mystical or none of that.
No.
It was just the way he said, and so, God, and that's why the black man is God.
Right, it was a matter of fact.
As a matter of fact, that's the good term, God. As a matter of fact. And the next day, Amar knocked on the door. That's the first time I seen the flag.
So now
he got his flag on, and he had the 120 in his hand. When he walked in the door, God, I snatched him out of his hand. Boom! Literally snatched him out of his hand. And I started writing them down. And he said, God, no, they're yours.
He gave you the whole 120?
120, yeah.
Oh, yeah, all three of us.
Wow. Gave us the whole 120.
You know, it's interesting because I was taught like to give him one.
Well, that's the way it was taught. However, he saw something in us that these guys is ready.
And Amar had a vision. That's what had to happen in the village. And in order for that to happen, we couldn't waste time. So, because I'll never forget, he gave those lessons to us. We read them. We looked at each other and said, this is the truth. This is the truth. You know? But then we sat on it. Amar didn't come back for a week. He came back in a week. And he said, what have you done with the lessons? And we said, well, we looked at it. And he bombed us. He bombed us.
Yeah? How did that go?
It was a good bomb, guys. It wasn't like an atomic bomb.
No,
it was more like a
This is like an older brother kind of.
Yeah, it was like, get your act together.
well, just like, showing us because all this, you gotta think, God, now look at this time span. July 1st we moved. July 5th or 6th we met Amar. July 12th we got lessons. You see now where I'm going with this? This is the summer of 71.
Right. And a week later, we getting bombed because we hadn't moved on it.
However, not too far after that, we was all into the lessons.
Look, you come to the house, you couldn't hear anything because everybody's like this.
Everybody studied. Everybody studied hard, God. Being 17,
17 years
18,
old.
being 17 and 18, but studying. All of the other stuff that a 17 and 18-year-old would like to be doing and clowning around and all that, but
we was gonna study those lessons.
the seriousness had been, the seriousness was profound.
Absolutely.
And the responsibility was growing. Everything that you learned from the time that Amar said it, the first thing I told Jamel that night, how are we going to tell it? I told Jamel, I said, God, we could put it on pamphlets, put it on the people's doors. Word is bond. And we walking at that moment after Amar. We walking towards the house. I said, God, how are we going to tell this shit? I'm the wisdom seed. I'm the brown. Jamel, my black. He my black. I said, how are we going to tell this, God? I said, we could put it on pamphlets and slip it on the people's doors. Because I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? I didn't know the profound responsibility of what I knew it was time to tell that.
And you wanted to give that.
I wanted to tell, I wanted somebody else to hear that. So now you figure, God, by the end of July, we was deep in our lessons. So much, they must say it's time to go to New York.
That's right.
Well, looking at 120 lessons for the first time, studying them, what lesson stood out to you?
Well, to me, Amar taught us study a student wrong. That's what, and then study your degree. I was 17. So one of the most profound lessons, we use them now in our funerals. The knowledge of God degree. We use that in our funerals.
Civilization.
What is the meaning of civilization? One having knowledge, wisdom, understanding culture, and refinement. And it's not a Sabbath in the pursuit of happiness. That stuck out on me. Who is that mystery God? You set up home, and Amar instructed that You might not know all your lessons, but you got to know certain lessons. Knowledge equality degree, who are the 5%, all of your student enrollment, and then certain degrees after the fact.
Oh, so he didn't really require you to actually have.
No, I'm not
not
gonna.
at first.
No, let me say that. However, the lessons enhance studying. So even though we had certain degrees, but by the end of the summer of '71, we knew all of our lessons.
Yeah.
We were versed, guys. And I tell brothers, it's a matter of understanding because we was just a couple months.
Knowledge at first, just knowledge.
But to know them, and to parade them
And to resuscitate them?
and reciprocate, no, we could do that because he wouldn't have never took us to New York.
Right.
He would have never done that.
That
He
was
would have
wonderful.
never, because Amar came from New York. He knew what was there. So when he decided it was time to go, this was like the last Sunday in July, somewhere like that. And he took us to New York. And as soon as we came out the subway,
It was July 71.
71.
Yes.
The last Sunday, in that last weekend. You know, because the Parliament of New York has always been the last Sunday,
Right.
final Sunday. And we went.
This is a Medina. You going to Medina rally?
No, we didn't even get to the rally. We went to New York. It wasn't a rally that time. We went to a rally, I think, in August. Let me reiterate that.
Okay, we went to Mecca.
The first time we went to Mecca, it was just for the visit.
Okay, so you went to Mecca.
We went up, we came up 125th Street, and as soon as we came out 125th Street, me, Jamel, Kaheem, and Amar, the four of us, we ran right into Old Man Justice. Dig this. And Amar, people sleep on Amar. But Amar was they say he was one of the father's best students. He was one of the ones that the father was hammering and getting in their case about things. Because some type of division, he knew he was going to have to go.
So his history is that he was taught by
Amar was taught by father.
law himself.
Yes.
He was 16. He was 16 years old.
That was
He
his
got-
enlightenment.
That was his enlightenment. Yeah.
Wow.
And then he got the father was the one that told him to go back in the army. Because Amar wanted to come out. Amar got drafted. Amar said, no, you got to respect the government. And he stayed. He went back. He didn't come out of the army until the father got assassinated. Then he said he clipped the cord because there was nobody there to tell him to go back. 2 years later, he's in Philly. Really like a year later, because he was already in Philly in North Philadelphia before he moved to Pelton Village.
But it took time for him to get his bearings on because Philly's a different city. It's a real different city.
So by the time he moved to Pelton Village, this was all of '71, like the winter of '71. So by the time he met us, which is the summer, you figure that was only 2 years after the father had been assassinated. June '69, July '71, he met us. That's 2 years, so it was all hot.
You know, and in speaking about the lessons, one of the other things that Amar gave us with the lessons was an article written by God in the Ghetto. God in the Ghetto. That was something.
You ever seen that article, guys?
I've heard of it.
It's an old article.
It's
a good article.
You know,
Good.
but the basic principle of it is that God is the overwhelming influence in our communities. It's our responsibility to be God to the whole community. You know, I mean, there's only a 5% of us, but we're responsible for them all. You know?
That's the reality, guys.
Right. You know, which is the reason why I've done the kind of things I've done, making sure that
Yes,
there's
sir.
housing for people all over the city, making sure that that people had food all over the city. You know, because
Bringing people to the house crippled.
right.
God, I got a couple crippled people we got to take care of. All right, Kai, bring them in, God.
I mean, after a while, the babies would bring them to me.
No.
Yeah, I remember the baby brought this young girl. She was 7 years old. She was born with spinal bifida, so she couldn't walk. She could only crawl. Her knees were all swollen from crawling, so she couldn't get out. And they said, God, she has no friends. So it was me and Born Divine.
Okay.
I said, we got to take her out. We went up and we met her mother, and then we started bringing her out, and we would carry her piggyback. We took her to the parks, We took her to the playground, put her on swings, let her meet all the other children so that she had friends throughout the whole year. You know, because that's what God in the Ghetto is about. God has to be out there in the community, in the ghetto. You know, when it came time for the children in the neighborhood needed shoes, we bought shoes for all of them.
Just go to the shoe store, yeah.
We took them all.
You were really, really involved in the community.
Absolutely.
Almost instantly, guys.
Instantly. Because I mean, was that like something that you got from the Panther background? Or?
No, just because, God. Remember, God. No, I wouldn't even put that. That was a moment. That was an ideological moment. No, we was already like family orientated.
Yeah, it was like we saw a need, and it had to be met.
Because that's the kind of, we all came up, like you said, he was in my house. We came up like family. Like nobody.
So that was instilled in you from your family.
From family and just being, yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I ate dinner at his house every night. It was not like.
And a lot of people in the whole block did. It wasn't like just Kaheem, it was anybody that needed it.
Yeah.
And that's the way it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like it was it wasn't something that was rehearsed.
No.
And this is what I built on about my nephew passed away. He got murdered. And I built at his funeral the other day, and it was about duty. And that's something that's instilled, like, and it has to be reinforced because a lot of the young brothers and sisters run away from duty. We ran to duty. Knowledge itself make you run to the duty. When people running out, we run in.
But I'm just acknowledging, how since you talk about your family, gave you a sense of duty. Then you become well read, so that's kind of reinforced. Duty being reinforced. Then you get to knowledge yourself, and it's bringing that out even more.
Coup d'etat.
Like, and then going back to the mindset of saying, I'm not talking about my brother.
Oh yeah, that was all instilled, right?
And we don't have that now.
We don't have that. No, there was certain things, just like I was telling people, you didn't climb in nobody's house and steal their TVs and all that, just because you knew somebody wasn't home. But we live in a society nowadays that there's no boundaries. You just didn't cross them boundaries for your own, and of a savage in the pursuit of your happiness.
No, and you better not knock on somebody's door talking about you got a TV. Wait a minute, I know whose TV that is.
TV that is. No. See, certain things, God, was just so profoundly normal for us to be. So it was easy. So when Amar Self came with the knowledge of self, all we had to do was find a way to custom make it for us. That was our names. That's when we chose our names. Because that's the custom part of this.
That's right.
Because your name is how you identify doing this job. How you identify doing this job. So when we chose names and Amar took us up to New York, it wasn't over because we were still 17, 18. So we still had to do crazy shit.
And you still, this is like you just getting the knowledge, really.
Right.
Just getting knowledge.
And Old Man Justice gave us flags that day.
Oh, right. I ain't tell that story. I got cut off. No.
Okay, so and you didn't have the knowledge 120 yet.
But they knew.
On the strength of Amar, get some flags.
He asked Justice, he said, Justice, I need 3 flags. Justice reached in his pocket, gave him 3 flags. Gave each one of us a flag, and then we ran into my man, Knowledge Allah.
Yeah.
He just returned, guys.
Yeah, I know.
He just returned. Knowledge Allah. And he looked at us. You know what that flag means? You know what that flag
But he was
means?
the one that examined it.
Yeah, guys, right off the start, because we put the flags on, and we turned the corner, because when back then, guys, in 1971, every corner you turned, it was a fountain center.
That's right.
And he turned the corner, he was like, he looked because they loved Amar. Everybody loved Amar. And they seen us, y'all better know what that means. We're gonna find out if we don't know what we don't know. We're gonna find out. And and then we walked. Me, Amar, Kaheem, Jamal, we walked 100 blocks.
That hard.
That hard. I walked. And Amar pointed out everybody. That's him, that's him, that's him. He ain't shit. He could be doing something better. Yes.
This is his history. This is his
This is a good brother. This is so-and-so.
Stay
And
away from him.
told us everything, did not pull no punches on nothing. Told it like he got it. So now, our job, when we came back home, now you're talking August of 1971, all we got to do is start teaching it like we got it. However, we were still teenagers. So we had some teenaging to do. So, for lack of a better way of putting it.
Yeah.
And for a couple of weeks, we acted foolish and chased girls and gambled and do dice and all kind of stuff like that. And then one particular night, right down Webster Street, in August, maybe like third week in August, I didn't feel like gambling that day. And I began to teach. It came out like vomit. Yeah. And it just flowed. And the babies crowded around. I'm like, oh shit. Jamel was on the step losing his shirt. I don't know where Kaheem was. Jamel was losing his shirt that night too. He was down there shooting dice. Couldn't get the numbers.
And see, I was always the horrible.
Kaheem wasn't going to gamble. Kaheem gambled like, because there was, everybody else was. He wasn't into that,
But if you wanted some extra money, then get me in the game.
Get his money. Come on, Kaheem. Anyway, and that particular night, I began to teach. And then Kaheem, oh shit, I'm not teaching. He looked, I had a cipher right there on Webster Street. I'm like, oh shit. And the next day, torched them. Came back down, because we were still coming back. We was commuting out to Panther Village, back down to South Village.
See, but our base was South Philly.
This is where we were. You see, we was going, at that night, we would go home to Panther Village and then come back and hang out downtown. And the next day, torched them. Kaheem knew this was Xerox machines. Kaheem knew somebody at a Xerox machine. He must have Xeroxed 1,000,000 lessons. And the next day, everybody had lessons in their laps.
We did the whole South Philly.
This is still 71.
71.
Still summer. Still summer.
Still summer.
Look,
Still summer.
I mean, we taught so many people.
Still summer, guys.
The Muslims was all like, who are these guys?
Still summer, guys. Because they started seeing their lessons.
Well, okay, so
That's another-
these Muslims were Islam.
They should have some Muslims, yeah. They started seeing their lessons. But now, all right, we're talking August. The sublet is about to end. Only for the summer. But God, I tell people all the time, Kaheem, about you hear it in your lessons in a matter of no time. That was in a matter of no time, because if you sat on your watch, if you sat on your stool and watched the clock, you couldn't keep up with what's going on that day. We was moving here, physically, lessons, it was moving, God. Whereas he said, well, how did y'all do that in 2-3 months? So we met him, learned New York, 120, flags. This wasn't like years.
No.
This was all in 2 months, the summer of 1971.
And this is before you really tracked 120 lessons. I mean, like you still had them, but not.
We were learning and teaching at the same time.
Learning and teaching. And by the time we came home that September, God, I can honestly say we had the 120 in our heads.
Oh, yeah.
Because we was always at. What's the days of the week, Kaheem?
You know,
What's the mathematics?
And by the way, let me ask you about a few more degrees.
Right. Because there was nothing to add. All right, man, let me do my 120. Just start. Who's the original man?
Yeah, and you make a mistake, you know, God, you're wrong here.
Right.
Good. Let's do this one over.
No, we was into this. So now,
and there was nothing else to talk about. This is what we talked about.
what we built on, God. So now, we back down South Philly at our mom's house. We returned to home. This is September. And everybody had names. Sharina, he met Sharina. Okay. He just met Sharina when he was at Gordon Webster. And because Amar taught us, it's time to go teach your families. that's what we did. He said, that's what you do. So we went back down and we taught. We taught hard. We taught hard. We taught true. We taught it just like he got it. Just like we got it. So you figure in the maybe like the end of September, we had not seen Amar for a minute. And we, one Saturday, the three of us, me, Jamel, and Kaheem again, let's go see him. Went out there to Fountain Village, knocked on his door. Said, God, look what we did. Took him down South Philly. He like, oh shit.
I mean, all the babies, you know, and the babies, at that point, most of the babies there, if they knew nothing else, they knew at least the first 5 degrees in the student road.
When you say babies,
I'm talking
Young,
baby. I'm
12. Young Justice was 12.
10, 12 years old.
Justice Going South was 12.
Yeah.
12, 13, little Al Java and all of them. Oh, they were young.
Yeah.
Little Al Java was 9. No, and we said, let's go show Amar. Now we had something to show. Knocked on his door and sat, woke him up. Because he thought we were burglars. Yeah.
Was it because we knocked and he didn't answer?
Because the house was kind of like falling apart now. So we climbed through the window.
Oh, you climbed through the window.
You know, and Amar came out ready to fight. He's like, God. Then he seen us and we hugged and we laughed. That's like, we're going down South Philly, show what you did. And that's what we did. We brought him down South Philly and he was like, full problem. Yeah. All right, full problem. Yeah. God, this brother taught it mathematically just how it's done. Even with all of his personal issues and all of his personal drama, all that he was going through with his family and all of that, it never spilled over to how he taught it.
No.
It never spilled over to how he taught it.
We got it pure. We got it pure.
Well, let me ask you, you said that Muslims started saying your lessons. What was that response?
Oh, they weren't happy.
Well, first of all, the Muslims of old were very docile. They stood on the corner and just had their paper down. Well, they had their paper across their mouth. But what happened was, as the gangs started dissipating with now yourself on the scene, a lot of the gangs went to the mosque. So now they not as docile because now they got a little bit of knowledge and wisdom with their aggressiveness now. And no, they came.
JDM and all that.
All of them, they all came. They all came. And we taught it.
Yeah.
Was it like a class?
Oh, definitely a class.
What they learned, first of all,
And
was that God had no fear. And then they found out that we had no hatred.
Right.
No hatred.
Nah.
Well, that was part of the thing because they thought that this was something. I said, y'all lessons.
We're not against it.
We studying the same lessons. we
teach it a little different.
we just going with a high understanding of these lessons. But the first degree in the student enrollment is emphatic as you can make it.
Right. I don't care how you
ain't
look
got
at
to
it.
go in
It's
1
the
to
same thing.
14. You ain't got to go no further. It tells you who is the original man. Maker, the owner, queen, planet Earth, father, civilization. God of the universe.
Yeah,
And,
how do you confuse that?
a lot of brothers, even today, a lot of brothers, they just start to say, damn, y'all were right all the time. But that peer pressure in that situation with them, and you had a couple of their old heads telling them what to do, and they got violent.
I mean, was it like a violent time period, or was it just like a violent,
I'm not going to, all time periods are violent in North America. I ain't never seen a moment when we had peace. However, there was definite, the way it was told is that there's some people with y'all lessons on the street. As if it was like we was doing something wrong with these lessons. You know what I mean? And they came trying to take lessons and all kind of other absurd stuff. And I'm saying it was issues now. It was issues. So now we on the streets teaching, and help was on the way. Help was on the way, guys. Help was on the way, and help was on the way because one of the first brothers we met, and he fell in love with us. Can do Islam.
Can do. That's my man.
He came. So when I came home one day from work, because right that September I got a job. Kaheem started working. We all started working. Kaheem must have gave my mom a little wink. Said, no, he all right. So when I came home, Kendu was on my bed, 3 stories up. He had to go by my mom to get to my bedroom. And my mom never met him before in her life. So when I came home from work, he's in a lotus position on my bed. And so my mom was already she had studied.
Yeah, she was acclimated at that point.
She had been acclimated at that point, so she knew that this
You know,
was
she was
something.
studying what you had given her a lesson.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, we had to. First of all, she had to understand, well, why am I the old earth?
Right. That was the one. That's one of the ones she hated. Well, ooh,
The old earth? The old earth.
So there was, we had some explaining to do, you know, because we changed everything.
it was rough. Like it was like the way Knowledge explained it. It was raw.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We were
A lot of
young.
things were raw. We were young and like, a lot of things that we said that as far as us not having a mom, which is not true. But it was just that, God don't have a mother, but as physical beings, we have moms. We have moms and dads and all of that. But it was just raw, and it rubbed her wrong.
Sure.
Yeah, because he explained it that, he went to, when he came home from Vietnam, he said that basically, your parents are telling him, well, did you get him?
I come back downstairs, so did you get him? Nah, he got me.
He got, wow.
He got me.
Did you get him? No, he got me.
What's the thing about it is, when he came home, like I said, I was basically living.
He was there. He saw Kaheem first.
See, because
I was at work.
and I said I was working the night shift, so I'm home in the daytime. I'm out teaching in the streets and everything. He came home. I'm the first person he see.
One of my other young bucks, Kaheem, they had knowledge. So now, for the first time, I'm hearing and seeing.
And these are your younger
They were
brothers.
my younger brothers. When I was my younger brothers.
We embraced and we talked for a while. And then he was like, "Well, what's going on here?" And I said, "No, I gave my word. Your brother's gonna tell you."
He said, "Well, I don't want to tell you no more because I want your brother."
Put it on me. Put it on me. Put it on me. But that was all good.
Yeah.
He said you frozen with that first degree though.
So he backed up and he said, "There is no man as the Asiatic black man, the maker of the owns, creator of the planet, Earth, Father, civilization, and God of the universe."
Well, God, he is my older brother, and I have utmost respect for him as a young boy, as a man, all of that. So I would be lying if I wasn't intimidated.
And he quotes this degree. So I'm done. I don't hear anything else that he's saying. I sat down on the toilet seat and he was just going. He might have quoted the whole 120. I don't know.
Yeah, plus, he was bigger than us too.
Well, not just physically, but the fact. I knew what I said.
When I say bigger than us, I'm talking about he was bigger than us.
Right.
I mean, he was that person who led us.
Good point.
You know,
He was bigger than us. He
You
was.
know.
He had, in fact,
if he said, "All right, y'all get here and all of y'all go this way," that's where we would go.
because he had good instructions.
Right.
He was never that big brother that would tell you wrong.
No,
you know how
we
you had
could
big
trust
brother
him.
that would tell you wrong stuff or lead you the wrong way and, let's go do this crazy robbery or something. He was not that guy.
No, he would tell you that's stupid. You
That's
ain't
some
doing
dumb
that."
shit. Y'all ain't doing that shit. No. He would be the guy.
Yeah.
Because like I
3 years older.
3 years older than us. That's why I told you, when me and Greg came around that corner, he was right there at the Gordon Webster. And he said, because they had already told him that we was in there. He said, and I told her, I just shook my head. He wanted to bump me up there. We chose not to. Anyway, but fast forward a year later, and once we got knowledge, you know, they was like, oh, we're gonna tell knowledge when he get home. So when he finally came home, it was a beautiful thing. Just the fact that he got home, though. That was beautiful by itself. And he had most of his facilities, because everybody didn't come home. People came home, but they didn't. They left a lot in Vietnam.
Oh yeah, legs, arms,
minds, brains.
You know.
Yeah, they left a lot. He came home, and
he was still our brother.
And he was still our big brother. And no, I just dropped it. I didn't know what to say or do. I just dropped it.
Technology,
I just dropped it. I just dropped it.
And that's the degree that did it for us.
I just dropped it, guys.
He said he had heard it before.
He heard it in Vietnam.
In
I
Vietnam.
had one lesson.
Yeah.
That's one lesson.
So it kind of stuck with him, but hearing
When
you
I
say
hear it again,
kind of put him like,
whoa.
I have to really pay attention to it. You know, especially just coming home from
Right. It's like this is around the world.
So Amar, we went and got Amar, and he said, let's have a rally. It's time for it. He said, no, it's time for a rally. And then he showed us the science. He said, New York is the last Sunday, I think. This is when they had Englishtown, North Jersey was like the third Sunday, and subsequently we chose the first Sunday. See, and I tell people all the time about policy. This is our nation. There are certain policies that we can set, that we must set to each other. You know, and still today, there's certain policies. It just ain't. A lot of people come to this nation think that everything is already done. We got a lot of work to do. A lot of policy setting on things that the way we see things for the future. We just can't assume that the next generation is going to get this right.
No.
We cannot assume that. So we must have certain, we got the supreme mathematics. That's our first guideline. Supreme mathematics in the alphabet. That's the first guideline. Now we got the history, we got brothers that's still around, who've been around with the father. And then we got documents that we have created, plus lessons that we have created that will help these brothers and sisters 20 and 30, 40 years from now. And I tell people all the time, we must create plus lessons that's gonna help us here on the planet. When we first seen plus lessons, they was way out here.
Yeah,
they would tell you
esoteric.
how many steps it would take to go to Mount Everest. I mean, like, you know, like, you mean 1 million steps to go to Mount Everest? I mean, like, yeah. How is that going to affect my right now? I don't plan to go to Mount Everest, so
And I'm not going to walk.
so I don't need to know that. However, there are things that we must create so that we could write things that we must create and put them in our plus lesson. So when you go through the 120, say, all right, well, this is how we was eating then. This is how we was living. These are the things that we should never touch again. Drugs, alcohol, all this kind of stuff like that. These are the things that we must do. This is how we got to do this. These things all must be documented. So because we need to fortify the foundation.
But that's a part of why I chose to do what I did with this camera.
Well, and we did some of the same stuff. 'Cause, I remember when we didn't just tell people in the community not to eat pork. Jamel acquired a microscope, and then we got some of those some of those culture trays, and we did experiments.
Good point.
You know,
Yes.
we put pork in there, and we let people see what happened to it, and look at it in the microscope, see for yourself what it
The
is.
sun hit it, the worms came.
Right. You know, because we didn't want people to take anything on face value.
Good point, guys.
You know, let's see it for yourself,
Very
and then
good
you're
point.
sure. You know,
Very good point, Kaheem. No, the science was all there, God.
we did all kinds of things like that. I mean, you know, we when we talked to the community, we talked. We really talked.
From shoes to food, housing, everything, God. Education. Why ain't you in school? Well, because I ain't got no shoes. All right, let's go.
Let's get some shoes. You know? That's all it's going
That's
to take.
what it was about, guys. Let's go.
Well, what were some of the challenges that you faced over the years dealing with such a, they basically had like a certain kind of grip on it now, something in lessons, but what were some of the challenges that you faced in the community?
Challenges. Well, I'm not gonna say the challenges were kind of, God, I'm not even gonna say the parents, because the parents gave us the children.
Yeah. Yeah.
See, because it was easy when we came down. This is what I'm saying. When we came back to South Philly that fall, September, October, November, and started teaching, the families digested. My mom, all the moms, his mom, they started digesting what was being said, and they like, okay. They got relaxed. Because my mom made a statement I never forget. She said, y'all just made this up to make the black man look good. Which is part right, but we didn't make it up.
Right.
It ain't like we made it up.
But they like the kind of things we were doing. Like we set up after school classes for the children, teaching so that to help them with their classes in school. So parents start to see, well, this is benefiting my children.
Yeah.
You know, my children are coming, getting out of school, and instead of being outside playing, the first thing they're going to do, they're going with the gods, and they're studying. You know, they're getting better grades now. You know, so this is benefiting the community.
And when you say challenges, Infinite, in hindsight, 50 years later, when I look at the struggles that we all went through as a community, and I look at the struggles that all of our young babies went through, I wish we had a little more hands-on with that. Because, sure, all of them young brothers and sisters, they can walk in that room right now. Peace, God. And they know their names, they know some of this, they still know some of them degrees. However, especially when it comes down to the young brothers, like a lot of young black men did, they went through the rocky road, the jail, and all that, drugs and all. And I wish, when in hindsight, that this is why these things must be etched in stone now, so that we can control. You said culture dish. Culture dish is the four walls, because that's the culture. The culture just is round, but it's still same 360 degrees.
Yeah.
That you can control this particular, wasn't an experiment, but you could control what you're trying to create with the pork that day. These four walls, our schools, our street academies, all that culture dish. That's why I tell brothers, find a place that you can make yours, even if it's just a storefront, and have everything channeled, because now there is stone involved. And you ever heard of the phrase etched in stone? Now we become etched in stone, because that's our culture there. You can walk, even though the Street Academy up in New York on 126, been there for over 50 years, almost 60 years now.
Our first culture dish.
Our first culture dish.
And
And
then-
all of that stuff that went through there.
Yeah, and in Philly, we have been trying to do it all the time.
Yes.
I remember when I had the studio?
He had a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I had a $100,000 building in Center City. The
Dance
problem
studio.
is that it was ready.
We weren't.
I wasn't.
We weren't ready.
We
We
weren't.
weren't. We were doing things that we had to catch up to
Right.
because of the vision. The shoes and we were the vision. The vision. We had a vision, guys. We had a vision.
So and when I did it, I had the best intentions. I just didn't have all of the things I needed in order to be able to maintain it yet.
Beautiful building.
Yeah, fantastic.
Had his own dance class and everything. Beautiful building, right down in Center City.
13th and Spruce. Right in
Building
Center
worth $1 trillion now. No, Mecca, God, is the heart of Philadelphia. Always been. In the heart of Black Philadelphia. Because you got to remember, Philadelphia was one of them cities where, you know, it wasn't, slavery was only a little while away in Delaware. See, so black people was very, very motivated in Philadelphia. You hear all of the stories, Ovi Catto and all of these people. This was South Philly. This was Philadelphia. This was black Philadelphia. So now, fast forward back to Amar, Parliaments. In the fall of 1971, Parliaments started popping. Kaheem knew everybody. We went to the YWCA. They gave us a room for inside. The outside Parliaments was right where you took the picture with the drone. But he got a drone.
Oh, okay.
He got a drone. He took sky. He got the drone right there.
Okay.
He took skylines of all of that.
Okay.
And we had our first rallies there. And right up the street at the YWCA at 16th and Catherine, we had our inside rallies. And then in January, in that same restaurant, they had built it back up by now. Same one. We standing in a restaurant. Me, Kaheem, Jamel, Amar. And Amar was trying to do, he had a situation he was trying to take care of. And there was a brother in line that maybe could help us out in that situation. His name was Fat Sam. And I said, Jamel, Fat Sam might could help us out with that. We went over to Fat Sam. Now, Fat Sam was one of those beautiful brothers. Beautiful
Heart of
brothers.
gold.
Heart of gold.
But not to be played with.
Anyway. And he came around to, Kaheem had a 2-room apartment on 16th and Christian. We rode right by that. And his name was Sam. And Fat Sam came around and checked us out. And the situation didn't happen. But he checked us out. And he said, and he just looked, he was just quiet. And one day, we had phones, big phones. And we had a phone book sitting behind the home, a personal phone book. And I thumbed through the phone book one day, I got off of work. Fat Sam was crossed out. That's Sam too. Quietly, he crossed out Fat Sam and put Sam too. And I'm like, whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, because see,
Go ahead, Kyle.
we learned from Amar. We didn't pressure anybody.
Right.
You didn't have to change your name. We would tell you why we did.
I'll understand.
Right? You know, and then you make that decision yourself. You see, because one of the things that we learned is that when you push somebody, then their heart is not into it, they're not going to stay with it.
Right.
You know, they got to do this on their own. They got to accept this knowledge.
He chose his name, and he was checking us out. And Sot 2 was a guy that came from the gang, the 15th Street gang, 15th and Clymer Street gang. Very no nonsense. I don't know how else to say it, no nonsense. So when he met us, he seen a couple things that was no nonsense. So these guys, they ain't playing around. And when he chose his name, it was lights out. This is a brother that could not read or write. Sot 2 was always in reform school and juvies. And then eventually, county time and all of that.
Right. But now, he was not ignorant. This brother was brilliant. He was uneducated.
There you go.
You know, but he was smart.
When he got the lessons, he mastered these joints and said, let's go. And we hit the streets.
He was a part of the firstborn.
Yes, sir. He put up our first one.
Right. Well, what was the order of the firstborn?
Kaheem Jamel.
First three. Was the first three.
So we met Amar.
Right. I met them all together.
Yeah, well, basically, we was all in the same. We lived in that house.
Right.
We all basically chose our names around the same, within the 24-hour period.
Yeah, it was within 24 hours.
24-hour period. Because I chose my name, Jamel, and then Kaheem chose his name, Just God. Because Just God was living with us too, occasionally. when he wasn't robbing us. What was this? Let me cut that out. No, I keep forgetting. No, beautiful brother. In fact, I met Jamel through Just God. See, because we grew up together. But I met Jamel from across the neighborhood.
Now, I knew Jamel because Jamel and I went to school together. We went to Catholic school together. But we didn't like each other.
I didn't know Jamel. I met Jamel through Just God. But Just God lived with us at Fountain Village. He was one of our firstborn. And then, like, when we left in September, we started teaching. It's like Tahid, Naheem, and then Sancho. Now Divine, Born Divine. That was virtually the way it came in. That's virtually how it came in. Because now Divine chose his name. He came home in March. He said he chose his name, I think in August. Something like that.
Right. It took him a little bit.
Now, I didn't choose my name right away. I just was studying like crazy.
He took his time.
No, he took his time. He just was protecting us now. Making sure nothing would happen to us while we was in this journey. He was always there, protecting, making sure nothing would happen.
Right.
He said, let me look after these cats. They still crazy as hell, but let me keep an eye on these cats, my young boys. And and you saw Shot 2 came, God, and we just taught. We just turned it up.
So he went from not knowing how to read to being able to quote.
These lessons, God, and teach.
That's he basically learn how to.
He learned how to read from the
Learn how to
lessons.
read lessons.
Teach, and the world was never the same.
Right. See, the first time Satu came to the house was during a class. We had all the babies there.
Right.
They're all the babies, because I only had two rooms,
not two
two rooms in this apartment. You know, and the babies were all in the back room, sitting on the floor, lessons. You know, and everybody's going through their lesson. They learned it.
Flag on the wall.
We had painted the flag on the wall, you know, and he just listened and watched. You know, because I'm teaching, so he ain't important right now. It's the babies that's important right now. Yeah. How you doing, Smash?
He's absorbing it.
Right. You know.
Absorbing it, God. Every moment he was.
Yeah.
Every moment he absorbed it.
And at first, not asking no questions.
Every moment, God. I could see he was absorbing it all. He was taking all of this in. It was a lot of moments. You know, a whole lot of moments. But God, I cannot reiterate it more. Just like it was in the summer of 77, summer of 71, it was all in a matter of no time, God. This wasn't even a year yet. We hadn't known Amar a year yet.
Right.
Listen to what you just heard. This ain't even a year, God. This is only 6 months.
And at our parliament, we had a crowd.
We had rallies. They was ready to go. People was teaching, eating right, living right, and being young. See, because the older Amar was only wisdom.
Oh yeah, so
He was our old head.
We was raw.
He was our old head.
Yeah.
Right.
When Niles and them came out, they was our old heads.
Right, he said that, it kind of gave him a complex about being.
Nah, you old.
Now, of course, they called me old, which at the time, I had just turned 21 a couple months ago. But you know, as a 70-year-old man now, I was a baby. But to the brothers that was standing in the cipher,
He was 17, 18.
17, 18, oh, he old, that mother, he old. Here come the old man. Man, get it. You know what I mean? He gave me a complex about age, God. So
That's what we consider the people old. If you was over 25, you was ancient. You know?
Old guys. No. But
And within that little bit of time, you just transform your lives and the community.
And if you walk, like I said, God, if they walked in here right now, all of them sisters, young brothers, love us dearly.
You know, if you ever want to experience, walk with one of us through South Philly in the summertime.
Love us dearly, God. The old ones, the babies, the moms that are still here.
There's some of them who are senior citizens who come through here.
Okay.
Come through here.
The moms that are still around still love us dearly, God. 50 years later.
We're in this is a community center. Right?
Yeah.
This is a senior center.
A senior center.
Used to be a church.
Right.
St. Edmunds.
You're active. It's still active. You're still doing what you do.
That's who I am.
That's beautiful.
I mean,
50 years later.
50 years later.
Yes, sir.
I don't think I would know how to do anything.
I don't know. We don't know how to do nothing else. And that's what Amar said to me a couple of months before he returned. He was like, God, you, Kaheem, he said, you know what's my best thing? Coming out.
Things were so crucial at that time. I didn't really go back to school until many, many years later. It was like 20 years later.
Oh,
So
yeah.
wait, so you dropped out of like regular school at the time? Like, yeah, like what grade did you come out of?
I dropped out 11th grade, you know, and went back later, got my GED, you know, and then I went to Temple, and then I went to Lincoln for my master's.
Wow. When did you start pursuing your complete education?
I graduated from Lincoln in 94
94.
with my master's degree.
I was there.
Wow.
I was there. Me and Jamal was there.
Yeah.
Because it was the first Sunday. Because it was a rally Sunday, and I grabbed Jamal and took him there. We was at the rally. I shot him up there. He was there.
Yeah, I won top honors too.
We were there.
God, your stories are very inspirational. Because the way that it is given now is just like we don't really see that much community, or that kind of like involvement in community. So it's see that how that was back then. I mean, I got knowledge in '94. I started walking through 120 in 1994, and being around a bunch of knuckleheads, and I sparked my environment. Well, we were knuckleheads, and
How old were you?
I was 16.
Oh, okay.
16, yeah, same age. In 1994, I was 16, and very distracted. And
90s was hard, God.
yeah, it was hard, and then just being a 16-year-old.
16 was hard with the crack epidemic and all this stuff was going on, and the gangs.
I was sparked by my physical brother before, and he's 12 years older than me.
Wow.
And
So he had knowledge first.
he had knowledge first, and what's crazy is that my whole earth was trying to keep me away from it.
Wow.
Like, don't mess with that. We believe in Jesus. We go to church. We like, but he was into some things. So, and I really saw him. I saw him when he would come home from the penitentiary, and my mother didn't want me involved with that. He took me to my first rally in June. I forget, June 26, 1994.
Last Sunday in June.
Last Sunday, June 26th, and everything that Christianity described what heaven is, I saw right there in Fort Greene. I saw the God building, the earth reflecting, baby shining. And that was what touched me. And that's why I said, me coming from where I came from, yeah, there was the church and everything, and I saw that there was a certain, but there was something more sense of community that I first time for me really seeing something like that.
Well, I've learned all moms tested. They all test. I remember my old word. She cooked pork every day for like 2 months.
Just out of spite.
Just to see if I was serious.
Oh, to test you. Oh.
Right.
You sure you ain't gonna eat? You sure you don't want none of this?
And let me tell you, see, I have to look back, at myself because my attitude wasn't the best. I had a chip on my shoulder. And at one point, my mother started calling me by my mother and my grandmother started calling me by my righteous name. But because I had such a chip on my shoulder, and you got to, who do you think you are? You know, I'm gonna call you what I named you. You know, and it became that kind of thing. You know?
Confrontational a little bit.
It became like, and so I now looking back, now that I'm an older man, I can see that my own errors, you know, I had.
Yeah, you could have did things a little bit
Yeah,
different.
you know, my everything, like I said, she had.
Same with us, guys.
She
Same with us.
shared,
Oh yeah.
you know, she was,
Hey, look, we all went through the who you think you are.
Who do you think you are?
right.
We all been through that. You know, the unfortunate thing is by the time you learn the best way to do it, it's over already.
It's all right. Right.
I mean, my older, when she finally did realize that I was serious, because she had all the respect in the world for me.
Same here.
Never called me anything different from that point on.
Because we showed them proof.
Yeah. See, I mean, the community. I want to say it wasn't there, but you guys had it just sounds so much more together. You know, I call myself bombing, you know, Christians and Jehovah's Witnesses. Like just being confrontational.
It's been confident because you know it. Because you got this.
Know-it-all.
You got this thing on your head now. You can show off a little bit.
Well,
We
you
all
know,
did that.
Yeah, we did it too. You know, but I remember Amos saying to us, you know, now that you've done that, what did you accomplish? You know, who learned anything?
Who learned anything?
Yeah. You made them look stupid, but who learned anything? Did you teach anybody?
They're not taught at the end of the day. They're going back to doing what they're going to do.
But that's not really called teaching. That's why we use the word bomb.
Right.
Because bombs destroy.
Right.
You bomb though, Bill.
Yeah.
I ain't seen a bomb you drop to build something.
Yeah, and that's what Amos' attitude was like. What was the purpose?
What's the purpose?
You know, and
Gotta have
you know, and if you didn't accomplish your goal, then you wasted your time. You know,
Because what is our goal? Teaching civilization. That's our goal.
Right. And see, that's something that,
Yeah.
That's our goal, guys. 50 years later, still our goal.
right. That's
Even
basic,
more than ever.
Basic civilization.
It's just now
Go to school, family, job, take care of your family.
we're just
School, job,
more refined with it
family.
now. That's all.
Same thing the father said. School, family, job. Ain't nothing changed.
Yeah.
People want to make things more complicated with the computers and the internet, and they blaming everything.
All that's supposed to enhance it, you know, but
Ain't nothing changed.
You know.
And if we could get the people, like Lord Jamel said something, God, it's about narrative. This day and time, God, like what you were saying, Infinite, as far as the difference between now and then, we must be able to control the narrative. Through camp, through audio, video, we must control the narrative. And once the people see the narrative, and now they could like, all right, this is what these brothers is about. See, we can't let somebody come in our cipher, and now all of a sudden, we on the defense of what we do. But I heard Father Sanders says, no, let me tell you what we do. I don't want to hear what somebody told you that we do. Let me show you what we do.
You know,
This is what we do. This is what we do. This is what we do.
and here's the proof.
Right. And like I said, this is why I chose this. You know, a lot of brothers don't like the camera or don't like the internet thing. You know, but however, you know, and I get it because there's only so much you're gonna get on this here.
Oh, yeah.
You're not gonna get the whole picture. You know, but this is just like a spark. This is an introduction.
Like they call it internet gods.
Right.
You know, the internet god. Which internet is good. However, there's a certain amount of one-on-one that you're gonna have to experience.
Right. There's no interaction.
Yeah,
There's no
That's what's
interaction.
needed. That's what this culture. That's what I've learned also.
There's no interaction.
You know, see, because when you're dealing with this knowledge, you can't just project it. You got to be able to have people give it
Bounce
back.
back.
Reflection. You know, if they can't give it back to you, you don't know what they learned.
Right.
So you don't know where to go next.
Right. You don't know where to go next. That is so right. No, that was beautiful, God. Thank you so much for coming to my fine, beloved city and doing what you do, Allah Infinite.
Yes, God.
And please spread the word to the other younger brothers and sisters to get involved with this here documentation, because documentation comes in many ways nowadays, through film, through downright lessons, books, lessons, film. Document all we can about this, and just teach it like you got it, Allah.
Indeed, God.
That's the key.
Right.
You could be going through hell and high water, still teach it like you got it, because that's what Amar did, God. The people, you know, they don't. Amar went through a lot to get here. The circumstances that brought him here was traumatic in his life. And in talking to, when he was building with knowledge, Divine, years ago before he returned, he had some regrets about what he went through. Even though the result of being here was a beautiful thing, but his personal challenges was trying. Rightfully so. So that's why I tell people about, I sing Amar praises all the time. I thank him all the time. I'm like, damn, Amar, thank you. It's because he taught it the right way. He taught it like he got it. That's all that's asked of us.
What was your what would you say your let's say your aspiration, or I'm saying not aspiration, your what helps you keep this knowledge preserved inside of you all these years?
Good point. Good question, guy. Very good question. The fact that once you start having children, guy, with this knowledge, so, and you start giving these children all of these beautiful names and all of these beautiful responsibilities, we ought to be here for them. Do all of this. It's not like we could just walk away, as some brothers and sisters do, after all of this. We have to enhance what we taught. And that's what I tell people a lot of times about how bad the father was. The father knew he ain't have a lot of time. But he had the vision, God. And he gave us the supreme math and the alphabet so that we could do our thing. However, he said he did one thing that would Amar taught so perfectly, God. And it's the same thing that Knowledge Divine told you. One of the things Amar self was, he said, God, I am not your leader. That's what the father told him. He said, I am like your big brother. Which takes the weight off of, it takes the weight Steve! That's one of the young brothers I taught. And he been crying, he been beating me up about lessons. Because he wanted to share them with his family. His name was Rakim. He chose the name Rakim when he was younger. He runs a funeral parlor now. He's part of a funeral director. And he wants to share what he learned with his family. Perfect example.
So he wants
his lessons.
Yeah.
And I'm going to give them to him. I'm going to give him the whole 120.
Peace. You see, you talk about like giving it all at once. Now it's divine. Talk about. He said, yeah, you can't spoon feed me.
See, this is the deal. Being I was older, they couldn't spoon feed me.
Okay.
You know, and that's what Amar taught us. If you got an older brother, if it's not another older brother around, give him his stuff and let him do his stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be sitting there
Just spoon. Yeah, right.
spoon feeding the older brother.
Well, sometimes you have to.
Sometimes you have to.
Sometimes you can't.
Right,
you know,
right.
it ain't necessary.
Well, we're talking about like a grown man
Yeah.
who has responsibilities. Like you know, take this and do what you
do
have
what
to
you
do.
got to do, and that's what Amar did with us. Because you know he knew. His vision was a hell of a thing too, God. Because he knew we didn't have a lot of time to be spoon fed in 1971. He's like, yo, we got to get this done. And we were the people to meet to have gotten that done too. Right. You know, there was probably he had met some brothers earlier in North Philly that he taught, good brothers. I wound up meeting them, Jermaine and a whole bunch of good brothers. And but they was just moving along at their own pace.
Right.
So when he moved to Fountain Village and eventually met us, it was lights out. It was lights out. Nah, Amar taught, man. He taught it just like he got it. Nah, he stood in front of bullets and all that shit for me. Got gun battles, all of that, God. Rommel stand behind me. Let's go. Jim and Nala stand behind me. Bang, 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 bang. Stand behind me.
Wow.
That's why I don't take this for granted. That's back to that question.
Right.
Because so many people, God. I used to be strung out on cocaine and crack, in the late 80s. And at the end, before I got clean, I'm like, too many motherfuckers that did right by me and protected me for me to go out like this. You know what I mean, guys? So I called rehab and never looked back.
Yeah, see, when you see, you know, this way of life, this culture, you know, do for you something like that. Yeah, that's
God, this is the reason why, God, is that knowledge had a cipher degree in the 1 of 40. Who is that
mystery God, right?
And the answer is so emphatic. There is no mystery God. So there is no reason to be praying. And all those the people who praying, I wish y'all well. However, y'all still got to come back to
the foundation.
The foundation of this.
Right.
So I want to be there when it happens. I want to be there, God. I want to be there before it happens. Not to tell you I told you so, but just to say, hey, I did tell you so.
Right.
No, God, it's a beautiful thing, this knowledge of self, God.
Yes, indeed.
And if we could only get 5% of the world, change this.
That's a lot of teaching. And then you just gotta keep on.
Gotta keep teaching.
The devil continues daily. We gotta continue
We
daily.
gotta continue daily, guys. These motherfuckers that ratcheted this shit up. Now they coming up with shit that ain't alternative facts. How the fuck is an alternative fact? I heard of an actual fact.
Well,
Something that
alternative
actually
fact.
But an alternative fact? And the shit is y'all telling people. Well, these are alternative facts, man. They can be right sometime. What kind of shit is that?
Some bullshit.
No.
I would like to come out here more, you know, and I want to, you know.
Let me know. You got my number.
Please, God, you know.
I'm retired, God. Kaheem retired. Knowledge retired. We got room.
And that building, God, like, you know, like I want to, you know, add on, you know, in some way, shape, or form.
It ain't going nowhere. We're gonna be right there.
You know. Well, I respect you, you know, regards to this cipher here, dealing with, you know, acquiring property. You know, that's something that like look, y'all are my older brothers. That's something I would like to, a skill set that I would like to, you know,
try to get your hired out of rent. Anything you
right.
not rent.
Right.
I don't care. Even if it's a goddamn car you ain't gotta rent. Don't rent it.
Don't rent it.
You know what I mean? Let alone buildings.
Right.
Let alone buildings. Because it's a mindset, like what you're saying, girl. Because a lot of people think that, you know, they've been living in these apartments and all that. They think that you can't buy nothing. And a lot of people think that they have no way in the world. Because my thing, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest.
But then you also think that you need like millions of dollars to.
God, I was talking to Saheem about the school one day. I said, God, I know it's under some sort of 99-year agreement or something.
Right. Yeah.
However, my thing is this. Ain't no way in the world we come up with X amount of dollars. Say we come up with even if we came up with a promissory note of $1 million with the promise of getting another 49 from somewhere else, we could build up.
Right.
You see what they did next to us? That little raggedy ass apartment building?
Yeah.
Well, it ain't that cute. And I'm saying, I'm quite sure they probably charging people like $5,000 a month in that motherfucker.
Right.
Looking down on us while we sitting there drinking wine and all kind of other craziness.
See, that's the signs, God, because Harlem is building up.
It's building up.
It's building up, and looking at that building, especially from a sky view, you know, everything's building up while that's staying the same. That can't stay the same.
God, I got a vision. Here I go again.
Gotta add on with your vision, God. Add on.
No, God. What's gonna happen is you're gonna have to save a window or something out of that Street Academy. They're gonna fight you tooth and nail.
Right.
Maybe the window. Knock that motherfucker down. Build that and save something from that. Knock that bitch down. And just dig the move, Allah. As tall as that. See, because my thing is, just like that building we got, I tell brothers in all of the cities, find a building that's going to help pay for the building, even if it's 2 apartments upstairs.
Right.
You got a storefront for your street academy, and you ain't always passing a hat.
Right.
You don't want to get in a situation that the hat is going to keep you open. I love my 5%ers. 5%ers don't want to pay bills. Some of them. Anyway.
Some of them, right.
Putting it out there like that. Anyway, find something that's going to create revenue. God, that motherfucking building, God, could create. I'm talking about, you might go up 10, 15 stars. I don't know how high you can go up.
Right.
But you can have a street academy, big street academy, that we could do our thing in. We can have a ballroom on the mezzanine, right above it. Take Harriet Tubman out the picture. Got our own rallies.
Right.
Rent that building out for cabarets and repasses and all kind of stuff. Now you got a bunch of condos.
Yeah.
And you can keep it to the point where they have subsidized shit going on where we can still live there. However, we can make a bunch of money.
They want your money. Yeah. See, now the concern is
and a lot of jobs. Maintenance man.
The concern, God, you know, that I've heard was because you know that there's the issue of the city trying to come and get it.
They've been trying to come get it since they gave it to us.
Right. So now, if we tore it down, do you think that they would try to, you know?
Oh no, we'd have to know all of this before we tear it down. These things would have to be known.
Well, you know, another option was, and I know the guard had added on the guard True Master out in Victory of Law. You know, you saying utilize the law school as a museum and build on top of it.
Well, the only thing about that, God, I thought about that because that's what Colleen was always dreaming about for years. You could build around it. However, it's going to cost a lot of money to do that. Yeah. Money that you could spend somewhere else. As far as construction.
So you think tearing it down would be more cost efficient?
Oh yeah. Because now you got a hole in the ground. Without that building sitting there, you can't build that. Like, where you gonna put your foundation at? That's hard to do. Go ahead, Bus. That's hard to do. Because you'd have to put girders over top of that and build around it.
Yeah.
You follow what I'm saying, God?
Yeah. See now the brother that my brown seed Devon, he actually, because it was
I know the guys that thought of it.
Yeah.
I ain't the first person that thought of it. We got too many great minds, guys.
Yeah.
Have thought about that.
At one point, them things there were jacks holding up the building. I mean, it was in bad shape. It wasn't,
Oh, the building itself.
Yeah, the building.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. At one point, there was jacks, and the guard, Divine Law came and fortified it, put beams and everything in there, and set it a certain way. Huh?
That's the point I'm making.
Right.
That's the point.
Yeah.
I know we got engineers and stuff, man. That's why some of these old heads need to step back.
Yeah.
God, we got motherfucking millionaires that would do that if some of these brothers step back and allow some of these young brothers and sisters to step up.
Yeah. That's another argument.
It's a little bit of a stagnant thing there, God.
Yeah.
I ain't fuck with you 5%, man, because they full of shit. God, I love my brothers, but motherfuckers just be. But God, you got people that's gonna always be in the way, and that's sort of the government thing. And you got niggas just spinning. Motherfuckers is there to agitate.
Yeah.
Motherfuckers just. Next time you bring up an idea, God, just throw an idea out there on the cipher. Well, let's see how many motherfuckers be. Fuck that shit. Motherfuckers be like, whoa.
Yeah.
1976, God. We had meetings. Because 5 years later, what we gonna do with this building in New York on 126? We had an idea of making it out of a central communication center. Files on everybody, who did this, who was the trades, who could do this, who could do that, and make the building efficient, not just a hangout, where you can take pictures and all that. Oh, that's fine. And we had meetings, and Amar, that's my brother, Amar would come in, peep at all this. What y'all doing Thursday, guy? We're gonna go up to New York, and I'll make this presentation. He said, God, I'm down. However, they're gonna kill y'all. All in the same breath. and he said it in such a profound way. We went on with our plan, and we went up there. We had us put on our suits. That's what they talk about, filling in the suits, and took the rally over in an organized way. Because we had meetings on how to. Because the rally is so scattered, all over the place and all of that, and. Had the presentation and everything went well, God. Until one of my brothers would decide to pull a knife. They got that heated. In the rally, in Parrot Tubman.
Wow, they pulled a knife on
Ken dude jumped up and said, no, this ain't going down like this. He said, collect all the everybody had filled them up. We had little index cards. Some big index cards. Occupation, what you can do. Everybody filled them out. He said, collect the cards. And this is what I was saying about the agitators. You see how one person, because everybody was like, damn, this is good. They filled out the cards, and this one joker jumped up, pulled a knife, started heading for the stage. And I forget, now Devon will tell you better. And Kendall said, no, God, you gotta collect. He took the cards and burned them.
Burnt the cards.
To protect us. See, this is another one of these brothers who know. That's why Amar said what he said. He said, God, I'm down, but they gonna kill y'all. Because he know the level of where they was at. Because of the no business attitude about that.
Well, brothers have kept it up, though. I mean, every time we was on the brink of...
Oh, no. Well, we got a determined idea.
Yeah, that's what I see.
There's a determined idea.
You see the will of Allah right there.
There's a determined idea, God, that's burning inside of us, man, that's going to keep this thing going. I don't care what goes down. Look at the drug thing. Look what that did to us. Drug and alcohol killed us, man. There's a determined idea, God. There's a real good, quiet undercurrent of brothers and sisters that's getting money now. 1976, we all suited up. We went up there and presented our John. And then that's when, after that, God, I said, you know what? We got to show how this is done. And that's the result of what you see on Germantown Avenue.
Peace. Yeah, that's a beautiful example right there.
Got to show how this is done. And even Amar, when he came, I am so happy he was able to see that before Jamel, before he returned. Everybody got a chance to see the building. And everybody said, damn, y'all couldn't stand for a storefront, huh? Because the storefront was a good idea in 1971. See, but as we grew, you know, our heads grew. We like, we can do this better. And I'm glad, even though the building is a project, we ain't gonna never worry about space. Growth. You know how you outgrow something real fast?
Right.
Ain't gonna worry about that. Not there. You don't worry about that, not there. Where it all began. Right here. 3321. 3321. This is where we met Amar at. This is where we live. This is where Amar met us. I put it like that. When Jamel went out that night, he went around the corner 2 blocks down the street on 34th and Poughton and met Amar, brought him back home in the summer of 1971.
Brought him back to conduct some business.
To take our business, and a couple days later, Amar dropped the science to us.
A few more days later.
Maybe more, it wasn't no more than a week, because he dropped it, we got it, studied it. End of July, we was in New York. So you talking 30 days, we went from meeting him to being in New York. 30 days after that, we was at rallies in New York. September 30th, we was downtown teaching it. So you figure them 30s. July 30th, August 30th, September 30th.
90 days, really.
90 days. What's the mathematics? Understanding, wisdom, knowledge, that's born. Hamilton.
And what area? This
is called Poughton Village.
Poughton Village.
It's called Poughton Village.
Peace
That's where it all began. The rest of the town was gang worn. Amar got up here to get away from the gang war. When he first went to North Philly, they was shooting, and he said he had a daughter. He said, I can't raise my daughter, and he moved over here. Because when he first came here, he lived with his family. His family lived in the projects down in North Philly. And he said they was coming down there gang banging his shit. He's like, oh shit, I can't do this. Now, this is the corner when he dropped it.
This is the corner here.
Right here, 37th and Barry. I stood right on this corner, right here. We had left a brother Doug house. Guy Doug lived right there.
Right here.
And we stood right on this corner when Amar dropped it. See, this is all trees. This ain't a real thing. I thought we had some open spaces. And that's where he dropped it. Amar walked this way to go home. Me and Jamal walked to our house. The rest you knew is history.
I like this INFMEGA. Do it again.